screen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by Katie Healy. You've found out you've got a big opportunity coming up in just a couple of weeks' time down at Wembley. How are you feeling, Katie?
I'm feeling really, really good. I think it's actually sunk in now. It took a couple of days for me to realise kind of what was actually going on. But no, I'm feeling really good. I'm excited. We've only got just over 2 weeks now until it's fight night. So I can't wait, to be honest.
How did you find out about the opportunity? Because as you mentioned there, it came at fairly late notice, and to prepare for a big fight such as it is with Nina,
Yeah.
how did you find out?
So luckily I was in a fight camp anyway. So we were preparing for a show in Liverpool on a Fight Zone show on the 9th. So I just got into the gym for a strength and conditioning session. And I had my boxing coach Gav call me and I answered, and it was a really, really quick conversation. He was just like, I've only got a minute to talk to you, but he basically explained what had happened and that Shannon had pulled out, and it wasn't public knowledge at this moment. They were obviously just trying to see what they could do behind the scenes and who could replace Shannon for this fight. So I probably had about 5 seconds, maybe even 10, to just kind of make a decision. But it was one of those phone calls which you just can't say no to. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity that comes about. So yeah, I was just like, yeah, why not? Let's go. And then I think I was shaking for the remainder of that session whilst I was training because it was all just sinking in. My adrenaline had gone through the roof. So yeah, that was how I found out, and that was how quickly we had to make a decision on the spot.
Has much changed in terms of your training then? Because you say you're in camp for that fight up in Liverpool, but I assume preparing for Nina, who's world champion, then maybe things change a little bit.
100%. Don't get me wrong. Whenever I'm training for a fight, I'm training 110% for it, no matter what fight that's going to be. Because I just don't think you can ever underestimate an opponent, and no matter whether it's 6 rounds or 10 rounds, it all depends on the pace that's set, the opponent you've got. So you need to go in that ring being overly fit and overly ready for it. But now that we know exactly who we're fighting, I didn't know who my opponent was going to be in Liverpool. So we were just kind of training for a fight, focusing on things that I wanted to improve. But now we know who we're fighting. It makes a big difference. It makes a difference in sparring partners, for example, makes a difference in kind of the tactics and the fight plan that we've got. So we've definitely upped it. We've upped it even more than it already was, just to make sure that we are ready for that fight come fight night.
And this will be a completely new experience for you. I know you've been on those Fight Zone cards before, but it's a Matchroom show. It's at Wembley Arena. There's going to be thousands of people in there. How much are you just looking forward to the experience as a whole, just around the fight?
I can't wait. I love boxing. That is the best way to put it. I don't do it just for the money or for that. I do it because I genuinely love the sport, and it's been a part of me since I was 11 years old. So this opportunity, it's just a dream come true. It really is. It's come a lot quicker than I was expecting it to. But I just love the build up. I love traveling to the area that we're fighting. I love doing all the conferences and the weigh-ins and things like that. So I'm just going to take in every single minute whilst I'm there and just enjoy every single moment.
You say it's come around quickly, and that seems to be sort of a running theme in women's boxing. People do get these opportunities quicker because there isn't quite the depth there is in the men's game, but it does present people like yourself with big opportunities early on, and you never know where that can lead. Doors are definitely going to open for you.
They are. It's exciting times. And when I started in my professional boxing journey, I knew that it was going to progress quicker than it does in the men's, because like you say, there's less women fighting out there. It's growing, but it's still not where it needs to be. But yeah, it's a great opportunity for me and Nina. This will be my 7th fight. I think it'll be Nina's 6th fight. She obviously won the world title. I think it was 4 fights in, and I won my WBF world title 5 fights in South Africa. So they come around quickly, but like I was saying earlier, you just can't say no when that call comes through, because it could be life-changing. It really could.
That's something I wanted to speak to you about, the experience over in South Africa. People go on away days and are in away corners. To go to South Africa for the title is a little bit out there compared to what some people experience. Just what was it like for yourself being out there?
It was amazing. It really was. That was another phone call that I received where it took a while for it to sink in what was actually happening. But no, that was, once again, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like, South Africa was never on my bucket list to go and visit. And then I've not only gone there, but I've gone there for an amazing experience as well. But no, the atmosphere, I love being away from home when I'm fighting as well. It's kind of like a different world. You shut off, you've got that focus. I like being an away fighter. So no, it was just it was amazing. That's probably the word that I use. It was fantastic.
I want to get your reflections on the fight from the weekend as well between Katie Taylor and Chantelle Cameron. Huge fight in the women's game, and some people surprised that Chantelle Cameron got the victory there, but I think most would agree a deserved winner on the night. What were your sort of observations?
I thought it was a fantastic fight. I think it lived up to the expectations that we were going to see a war, we were going to see a fight. It was difficult making the predictions, I'll be honest. I think my prediction that I did was that I suspected Katie was going to win the fight. I thought she'd have won it on points because we know how active she is and her combination, she's non-stop. But then I did say I was kind of sitting on the fence a little bit because Chantel is also extremely talented. You can just see that by her record alone prior to this fight and the fights that she'd had. But Katie was going up in weight, so I thought that Chantel might have had that power, that stoppage. So to see Chantel win on points, that surprised me. I thought if we were going to see Chantel win, it would have been the stoppage, but no, it was a fantastic fight. And I know that they're talking about the rematch, so that would be very interesting to see if Katie does anything different. But Chantel had the perfect game plan and it pulled through on Saturday for us. So I really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, people are obviously the rematch has been highly touted, but there are some people out there saying that retirement might be round the corner for Katie Taylor. Yeah. What would you say is the correct decision now for Katie, do you think?
I think it's very difficult because when you're a boxer, you'll go, oh yeah, I'm going to retire, and then you kind of get that hungry factor again when you're watching the fights, and it's very, very difficult to make that decision. I do think she looked a little bit slower than she usually does, and she wasn't her usual self. But is that because she's getting close to that retirement? Was it because it was a homecoming? There was a lot of pressure on it. There's a lot of factors that play a part. I actually went to a meet and greet with Katie Taylor. I think it was last year now, and those questions were coming up. But from her response, I think she feels like she's still got a lot to give to the sport. And we see a lot of fighters now that are not as young as they used to be when they used to retire. They used to say peak age was 18 to 28, I think, around that mark. But we're seeing people in their 30s and even 40s fighting now. So I think it's a personal decision. There's a lot of factors that come into play, and at the end of the day, Katie just needs to do obviously what's right for her and her career, and just go from there. Really, only she's going to know.
When you see fights like Katie against Chantelle, and we saw Savannah and Clarissa Shields on a huge card down in London last year, does it just sort of, you look at those opportunities and you think, in a few fights' time, if I manage to capture a belt here from Nina, I could be the one in their spots. I could be getting these opportunities.
Yeah, I think it's a thought that floats around. Like I've always been someone to kind of just take each fight as it comes and not get too overexcited or think too much about the future. But in like subconsciously, you do have those thoughts, especially when you're watching it on the TV. So yeah, it's an exciting thought. It really is. And we saw how quickly my career has progressed already over just 6 fights. And that's only 2 years in. And I'm 25, I'm young, I'm hungry. I've still got a lot more to give to the sport. So yeah, I guess we can only see what comes about from this and see what happens. But I'm excited to see where the journey goes.
You mentioned there, still fairly early on in your career. A lot has been made about Nina's age. She's 40 years old, I believe, going into this fight. Do you feel over a longer distance that could become a thing, conditioning towards the end of the fight, or?
Potentially. It's one of those things where I never predict anything ever, and I never underestimate an opponent in any way. I've always been one to kind of just adapt the second that I get in the ring, but anything can happen on fight night. Even though, yeah, Nina is coming to her 40s, she still looks fit when she's in that ring, and there's a lot of factors that can come into play to make a difference to that. So I guess we're just going to have to see on fight night. But from my side, I'm preparing for those 10 rounds, or to be honest, I prepare for more than 10 rounds if I can, just to make sure that I am 110% ready. So if it goes the distance, I know that I've got the engine to go that distance. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Another fighter I want to get your thoughts on quickly is Ebanie Bridges, who's obviously in your division as well. Taken quite different approaches, I guess. Yourself, you're still working and you have to sort of fit boxing around your work life. She's now become a full-time boxer and does the things she does outside of boxing. Just what are your thoughts on her pathway into the sport?
I honestly think fair play to her. I really do. I think, yes, she's approached it in a very different way, a different way that some people don't agree with, which is fine to them. That's their own opinion. But she's made it. She's made a really, really big name for herself. No matter how she's done it, she's made this name. And the girl can fight as well. It's a fight that I'd love in the future. I think it would be a fantastic fight. I think there'd be a clash of styles between the both of us, which would be an entertaining one. But no, at the end of the day, she's making her money. She's made her name. If that's the way she wants to do it, that's up to her. I don't have an issue with that. I know obviously there's comments about it, but yeah, like I say, fair play to her. That's all I can say, really.
Do you think that's the biggest fight in the division for yourself, just because of Ebanie's profile?
I think in terms of profile, yes, she's got a lot of exposure. She gets a lot of exposure from not before the fight. Obviously, we've seen her weigh-ins, the amount of views she gets and things like that. It would be a very big profile fight. I think there's other fights out there which would be difficult ones. There's a lot of talented girls, not only in bantamweight, but in super bantamweight as well. And I'm quite lucky that I can go between those divisions quite easily. So yeah, I think the pool at the moment is exciting. There's very talented girls there, and I can only see it growing, to be honest. We're seeing new people come up, whether they've gone from amateur to pro or they've just started pro boxing from a different sport. Yeah, I think over the next few years, we're going to see some very, very exciting fights, potentially headlining like we've seen with the likes of Katie Taylor and Chantelle on the weekend.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Well, just give us your fight night prediction for a couple of weeks down in Wembley. What's going to happen on that Saturday night?
I'm bringing the belt back to the West Midlands. That's my prediction. Not going to tell you how, but just know I'm coming back with that belt. I'm determined. I'm driven. I really, really want this. Really want it. So, yeah, we'll see what happens, but that's my prediction.
Good stuff. Well, I'll be down at Wembley in 5 weeks, so I'll see you down there. And best of luck with the rest of the preparation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.